Hey there, Yuris here, and welcome to Community Life. Here we talk with the amazing humans from the community world about their life journeys and learn from each other. And today we have a conversation with Blue Arauz, a transformative community dynamo who inspires people with his creativity and passion for the work that he does. A retired host of a food show, Crave GFL, and craft beer ambassador for Greater Fort Lauderdale, the life of the party, a Cuban kid from Miami, and the literal definition of if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So, hello, Blue.
That is quite the intro. I don't know where we go from there. That was very impressive. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Super happy to talk to you, especially of my dearest friend Ella, who told me that I have to talk to you, and I definitely have to talk. And all those things, it was not me making up. It's what people are telling about you. So let's see if it's true. I bet it's true. So let's just jump right away.
I
So
pay for a lot of
tell me.
bots. A lot of bots. That's all fake. It's all out
Ah,
there. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay. So we'll definitely talk about AI a little later.
yeah.
But
Yeah, right.
tell me a backstory of you becoming a food show host.
Yeah, that was a really great project with the Convention and Visitors Bureau of Fort Lauderdale. I grew up in Miami and South Florida and moved up to Fort Lauderdale. Um, and I was living there for a few years and I feel like it never got the proper respect for the food scene that was in Fort Lauderdale. We had some great restaurants there. Um, the culinary scene was really, really blowing up. And I was working at Yelp at the time, which is obviously known for their restaurant reviews and uncovering all these great local gems. And the Convention and Visitors Bureau got in touch with me and asked me if I was interested in applying to be the host of this show that they were putting together, which focused on the food scene. They wanted to really put the spotlight on the chefs and all of the great restaurants. They were looking for somebody with a big personality that loved to eat and knew the scene. And it was like, hey, this is my friend Andrew actually recommended me, and he was like, I know the perfect guy for you. And they reached out, and we were able to put it together. And we did 3 amazing seasons. Got to showcase some really great restaurants and really put the food scene in Greater Fort Lauderdale, put the spotlight on it, which I was really excited about.
How did the first audition go?
Yeah, that was I met with Frank, who was a producer, who is still a great friend of mine. He's such a great guy. And we were just at the office and it almost I've never auditioned for anything, this isn't like something I've ever done. So he just kind of had a conversation with me and he was like throwing things and he's like, all right, now pretend you're at this restaurant. And he kind of like kicked it to me and I was like, oh, well, I'm here trying the seafood or, whatever, just kind of freestyling it. But really what he told me later on is that they were just trying to see like how my mannerisms were, how my personality shone through. He didn't really care what I was saying. It was just like, how did I present myself? Um, and I want to say like after, maybe 30 minutes of it, he's like, hey man, we've interviewed a few people. Like it's yours if you want it. Like let's just get this going, which was really awesome. I think it was just perfect synergy and a perfect partnership there. And yeah, that was in a little office. I just kind of went in. It was just me and Frank, and yeah, we locked it in after an hour, and I was the host.
What was the best dish you've ever tried during the Crave GVF series?
Yeah. Oh, there were so many good ones. There was a lot of good ones, and there was also some where we did like 50 takes before it, so the food was very cold by the time I ate it. So we won't talk about those. But I would say the most memorable. Have you ever had stone crabs?
I heard about them,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So stone crabs are really fascinating. They're native to South Florida, and they're basically a sustainable food source. You can snap the claws off, and then they regrow their claws, which is pretty amazing. So by the next season, you have a whole new harvest of claws to harvest. So we did a really special episode where we went to the Florida Keys. I went on a boat. I snapped my own claws. It doesn't hurt the crabs in any way. It's a sustainable food source. And I got to try a stone crab that was harvested that day, and it was
Oh.
the sweetest, freshest crab meat that I've ever had in my life. It was incredible. But that entire journey was incredible. I'm really grateful I got to have that opportunity. But it was a giant claw also, which usually you don't, those are very expensive. So they're very kind to let me try that one. But I have a photo somewhere where like the claw is like almost my whole face.
Oh.
Yeah, really cool.
And I guess it was not that cold that time.
No, this was forget what time of the year it was, but it's never really cold down there. So
Uh, what was there a dish you didn't like in life, but you had to like on camera?
Oh, no, I've thought about this a lot. I don't think there's anything that I don't like to eat. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity eater. I don't, I love salads. I love, I don't eat that much red meat anymore. I would say maybe that's kind of, but I'll still dabble if my buddies are grilling something on the grill, I'll take a bite. But other than that, yeah, I don't think I've ever had a food that I really disliked except licorice.
Hmm.
And luckily there was no licorice on the menus in any of these places.
How did you fall in love with food?
Um, oh, always. I feel like I've always really loved to eat and yeah, I mean, I always say that one of my hobbies is like trying new cuisines. I'm just really fascinated by food in general and just dishes and, rice, for example. Like every culture has rice. That's just so fascinating to me. And they're all prepared differently, but it's almost like this common ingredient in almost every single cuisine. And I think truly what I love the most about food is sharing it with people. And,
Hmm.
the best conversations happen over a meal. And I love going to restaurants and just sharing plates and conversing and having a good time with friends. And I think that's probably obviously tasting and trying the food is great, but I think the experiences that come with food is what I really enjoy the most.
What's the cuisines that you didn't try but really want to?
Oh, I've always wanted to try Ethiopian food, and I finally just tried it recently here in Chicago. We didn't have too much Ethiopian food in South Florida, so I scratched that one off. Um, I can't think of anything right now that I haven't tried. That was the one that was always on my bucket list, but yeah, I've had the great fortune of trying so many different cuisines, but every now and then I'll come across a dish on my For You page on Instagram is always just food from all over the world. Obviously, the algorithm knows my love language, um, so it's always different dishes that I'll see and I'll be like, oh, I need to try that. But yeah, as far as cuisine, I've tried almost every cuisine that I can think of, but I'm sure there'll be more that I come across that I haven't thought of yet.
Let's say, for example, if you try a Greek cuisine in the US and you try the Greek cuisine in Greece, what is the difference?
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually a few years ago I had that opportunity. I was in Greece and got to have the food, and Greek cuisine is probably one of my favorites. I don't know if there's that much. I've had really great authentic Greek food here in the US, which has been, really nice. They do say that the food in the US sometimes has extra preservatives and extra stuff. So like pasta, for example, if you have pasta here and you have pasta in Italy, you might feel a little bit different if you eat too much. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference. But flavor wise, and being in Chicago where we have such a multicultural community, like people bring their recipes from their families. So I'm able to get really authentic, true, real deal food, which is I know a luxury and a pleasure for sure.
How do you feel about cooking food?
I love it. Yeah, I cook during the week. I leave the restaurants for the weekend. But yeah, I cook during the week every single day.
And what is your most favorite food to share with a friend?
Oh, for sure, tapas. Spanish style tapas, a bunch of little plates. Everybody gets a little nibble of each one. If you like it, you order a second round of that. And on the same, concept, I love like charcuterie boards and cheese boards and, again, sampling a bunch of little things and mixing all the flavors. I think that's the best way to enjoy food.
So sounds like when it's really a lot of different food that you can share with someone and try different things, but also, like not to get very too much food, I would say. And
Yeah, yeah. Not getting too full is the trick. Yeah.
so let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your parents. Who are they?
Yeah, my parents are Lourdes and Julio. They were both Cuban immigrants to the United States. My dad got to the U.S. when he was about 15. I think my mom was a little bit younger, 13, and they both met in Miami. Um, and yeah, just I often say this, but just truly, I think instilled in me this hard work and dedication and that American dream that they really got to experience and the freedom that they found here in the US and achieved everything through hard work. And I think that work ethic was instilled in me and probably the best thing that I attribute to or the number one thing I attribute to my work ethic is definitely my parents and just their hustle, always working hard to make sure me and my brother had everything we needed.
Do you know how your parents met?
Um, there's differing stories. I think each one of them has a different story. The one I've heard is that they met out dancing one night at a nightclub. This was obviously way before Tinder and Bumble. There was no dating apps back then, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's my understanding they met on the dance floor. My mom says that that's not necessarily true, but she also has never told me the true story. So I think they met at a nightclub. Whether they were dancing or not, I think is up for debate. So.
How do you feel about dancing?
You know, I feel like I want to dance, and I just never let myself dance. I need to take some dance classes, I think. I think I need to really get out of my shell for there.
And why? Why do you not let yourself to do it?
I don't know. I've just never been a dancer. I've just never, I love music. I love going out. I love concerts. I even love bars, but um, my girlfriend's a hell of a dancer. She loves dancing, and I'll kind of do a little two step, but that's about as far as it goes. But yeah, I've that's on my bucket list to try get some dance classes and maybe build up my confidence a little bit on the dance floor.
I'm asking because like my wife also likes to dance, and then she was like, "Yeah, come dance with me." I'm like, "Yeah, no, yeah." So like
Yeah,
just do a little bit of movement, but then like, yeah, no, I'm not dancing. Sorry.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like we need to, become like this peer buddies and to push each other to go to dancing classes.
There we go. Yeah, I like that. We're gonna start a support group for wannabe dancers, and we're gonna get through it. We're gonna do it.
And what about hard working? So you talked about your parents that they were hardworking. How they taught you to be a hard worker too.
Yeah, well, by example, right? So I don't have children, but I see, for example, my mom, she worked a full-time job, picked us up at school, then went home, cooked dinner. Just it's hard for me to just work a full-time job and cook dinner, right? So also dealing with children, it was just it there was never a complaint, there was never a moment of frustration from her. It was just part of daily life, and my father was always hustling. I mean, he dropped out of high school and was self-made, right? He started his own business and just worked really hard, and when that business didn't go good, he opened another business and was really successful there, and sold that business and then started another business, and it was just nonstop for him, and that example, just having that without them saying you have to work hard, like them just doing it, I think meant a lot more than being like, you have to work hard, you got to get good grades. They showed me that you have to work hard. So that was always instilled in me.
And what does working hard mean for you personally?
Working hard, I know that that's maybe a little taboo now, right? Work-life balance is very important. I do want to say that if anybody on my team is listening right now, work-life balance extremely important. Um, but I think it's pushing yourself. It's growing. It's learning new things. It's trying new things. It's not being scared to take on that project or see that thing to fruition. Um, and we're all busy, right? We all have lives. Again, that work-life balance is so important. So it's getting all that work done within the allotted time. But yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just taking on responsibilities and taking on projects and taking on things that you really want to see come to life, and then seeing them through. Even if it gets difficult, even if it's you're facing some sort of adversities, like making sure that you see it through to the end. Even if the result isn't what you wanted, I think you take that learning and you learn for the next time. But yeah, it's all about kind of seeing things through.
You know why I'm asking? Because I recently had a podcast conversation with a well-being coach, and she told that the good work-life balance is when you sometimes can just do nothing and get bored. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't stand getting bored. Like when I'm not doing anything, like I just need to do something. I just can't sit still. And she was like, yeah, no, you have to. So how do you feel about getting bored?
Yeah, the older I've gotten, the more tenured in my career I've gotten, the more I realize that that's so important. Like you have to have that balance. You have to reset, even if you don't think you need it. You need it. I still remember the very first massive project I was working on, and I developed a twitch on my eye. Like I still remember like it was yesterday. I was like, what's going on here? And it was the stress that I was under, right? It was like just working nonstop on that
Wow.
project. And I took the weekend and I was like, hey, it's the weekend. I'm not going to work on this thing. Monday, I'll pick it back up. And like that little reset, even on the weekend and not worrying about it for a couple of days, just completely reset me. And I was just ready to go back on Monday. Right. So I've gotten a lot better with that. I probably should still get even better than I currently am. Vacations are important. Downtime is important. I like that concept of just being bored. Um, I'm a little bit like you. I don't know if I want to be bored or maybe do something that at least entertains me. But yeah, I think the concept of a reset is much needed for everybody.
And I feel like it's a work in progress. Like it's always work in progress.
You got to work hard and not working hard. Let's that's a sound clip. We'll take that one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So let's move to yourself. What is the first memory of your childhood that comes to your mind right now?
Ooh, being in kindergarten and playing with blocks. I don't know why. That's the first memory. Yeah, I was yeah, kindergarten building things with toy blocks for some reason.
What were you building?
I think a house. I want to say like I would always try to build new houses, different types of houses with these blocks. They weren't like Legos. They were like these really big blocks, and I
Hmm.
would like build almost like a life size for me at the time, right? Definitely not life size houses, but very big structures, I guess. Yeah,
Are you a fan of Lego right now?
I am. Yeah, I enjoy Legos.
What is your favorite set?
Well, not to that level. Like
Ah, yeah.
yeah, no, I don't have any collector sets or anything like that, but I do appreciate the art. I've seen like these massive sculptures of Legos, and it's very impressive, very impressive.
When was the latest time that you built something from blocks or maybe played Lego?
Oh, ooh, I want to say maybe like 4 years ago, I actually bought like this bulk. I want to say on eBay, I bought like a bulk set of Legos, and I actually built like an art piece out of it, and I
Hmm.
created this like very big framed art piece with different Legos, and like yeah, it was a really nice thing. I think it's in my mom's living room now. I didn't bring it with me to Chicago, but yeah, that's the last time I played with Legos a few years ago.
Why you didn't bring it with you?
It was very fragile and it's very heavy. It was massive. It was a very big piece, and I was very scared that like in the transport it would just collapse and it would have just stayed in pieces. So
How do you feel about height?
heights,
Yeah.
slightly terrified of heights. Yeah, I would say that's one of my fears. Not necessarily. It's very weird because not necessarily on like airplanes. I'm okay like looking out the window. I love looking out the window on airplanes. If I'm in a structure and I'm very high, that's when I freak out a little bit. Like a very tall building, for example, or like a bridge. Yeah.
I'm curious, where is your passion for making photos of high and not only high buildings?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think architecture is beautiful. It goes back to my blocks, right? I guess I should have maybe been an architect. Yeah, I think architecture is beautiful, and I'm always fascinated by different architecture in different countries, and even in the U.S. alone, like architecture from the south to the north to the west, it's all so different. So yeah, I really like taking pictures of buildings and cityscapes and skylines. Yeah.
It's interesting because the more I talk to community builders, the more I understand that many of them came to this industry like by accident. And I'm curious, who did you want to be when you were growing up?
Oh, I always wanted to be like an on-air personality at a radio station. If anybody in Miami is listening, Power 96, I wanted to be on Power 96. I just remember always being in the car on the way to school, listening on the radio, and I was like, oh, they get to play music all day. Not knowing obviously it's a job, right? You're not just playing music. Um, yeah, that was always like my dream job, and you know, didn't come to fruition. I don't know if terrestrial radio is still a thing anymore, but yeah, that was always my dream job.
Sounds like, yeah, there are a lot of radios and they're kind of turning more. I don't know really, but I feel like this is interconnection of radio, podcasting, and all the stuff that you can just listen to. And why didn't you pursue it?
Well, so I kind of did. I went to school for journalism, and I vividly remember my professor being like, "Hey, we don't know where journalism's going. Nobody knows how to make money once we go to the internet." So that was like really, really instilled in me. Oh, this is the great career choice. And then yeah, I ended up doing journalism with a minor in marketing, and I just kind of fell into marketing instead, and an intern community building, which I didn't realize it at the time it was community building. And I just thought, okay, I can maybe go work at a newspaper or a radio station and kind of work my way up, or I just go down this path of this new thing that I really love and see where it works out. And ultimately, it worked out, luckily.
How do you fall in love with a new city?
Through the food first. Yeah, yeah. When I'm researching a city, it's always restaurants and coffee shops. Coffee shops, especially, I really love going to a coffee shop and just kind of sitting there. I think, you see the locals there, they're sitting, they're, on their phone reading or just talking or whatever it is. And I think that's the best way to really get a local feel, especially like a local coffee shop, maybe not a big chain coffee shop. And then through the cuisine, obviously country to country, but even city to city, regional dishes are fascinating. So I love getting whatever that regional or local dish the specialty is.
So is it like when you're going to a new city, you're really like researching what are the local coffee shops there, or what is your approach?
Oh man, I have a list for every single city I go to. My girlfriend says that I might overdo the research a little bit. Um, but yeah, before going anywhere, I always have like at least a few things that I really want to get to, and then depending on where we're staying, really maybe the 1 mile radius around the hotel, just to make sure there's nothing that I really want to go to there. Um, and then yeah, just have that list. And there's some cities that I go back to, a couple times a year or whatever it is, and I have an ongoing list that every time I go, I check a few more off. But if it's a brand new city, that's probably where I start. I start with obviously landmarks or anything like very major. Like if I'm going to Rome, obviously the Colosseum will probably be top of the list. But what kind of food are we getting around the Colosseum? That's always my next question.
So when you are in a local coffee shop or local restaurant, so what is it like? What do you do? Do you just taste food, look around, or maybe you are trying to talk to people? How do you feel it?
I'm not usually talking to people. I wish that happened more. It's happened a few times, and they've always been really great conversations. Um, but yeah, no, I'm more so just analyzing the menu, obviously talking to the server, communicating with them, asking them what they recommend, and if I have any questions there on things that I might not be familiar with. But I like the experience of tasting the food, and I've probably done a little bit of research, maybe if it's a certain dish or something like that, so I kind of know a little bit about the dish. But yeah, it's really just tasting and experiencing, and then people watching, just kind of looking around. I love sitting outside. I think indoors too is great, but like if you can ever sit outside and just kind of people watch, it's one of my favorite things to do.
How does it work for you, people watch?
You sit there and you just kind of take in the surroundings. You're not on your phone and scrolling on Reddit like I am at home. I leave that for home. I just kind of like just take a moment and just sit there and kind of take it in, especially if I'm traveling, right? Like if it's a destination that I've always wanted to go to, that's usually my moments of like calm and just kind of taking it in and soaking it in.
By the way, what was the last time that you left home without a phone?
Oh, I mean, I probably ran right back home to grab it if I did. Um, I wouldn't be able to tell you that. Everything is on my phone, right? Like I even have my credit cards on my phone now. I tap to pay everywhere. Like it is probably the gift and the curse. But yeah, if they could put my house keys on my phone, I that's all I would ever need.
Yeah, I feel like, you can add an umbrella to your phone, maybe like some warm clothes, and basically it's everything. Maybe some food on your phone. Yeah, just
Yeah,
start the
yeah, like a
people.
little granola bar or something, and you're set. Yeah,
Just click the button and like, yeah, it's open. But who knows, like it's things are created, people are creating things. So you
they're
never
delivering
know.
like parachutes now. Yeah, so you might be able to literally click it and they drop it and they give you a little like in the Hunger Games. It's great.
It's I don't know if it's great like in a Hunger Games, but still I totally agree what you're talking about. So how did you feel when you moved from South Florida, where you lived your entire life, to Chicago?
Yeah, it was I've been here a year and a half now. And I would say one of the best decisions I ever made. It's just, I was born and raised in Miami and grew up in South Florida, moved to Fort Lauderdale, which is really only, 20, 30-minute drive depending on traffic. Well, maybe a 2-hour drive depending on traffic, but it's not that far, right? So I could always just go back home and it all feels like it's the same place anyways. So Chicago was the first time that I really lived somewhere different. And I just love it. There's such an energy here in the city. It's gorgeous. Everybody says it's, it's like New York but cleaner. And I have to agree there. And people are a little bit nicer, which is nice. Um, but yeah, it's just an incredible city. Just absolutely incredible. I've drastically increased my step count. I'm always walking everywhere. Public transportation's great. The food scene is incredible. People are so nice. I've made some great friends. Like it was definitely the right move for me. And if you've never visited Chicago, it should be top of everybody's list to visit.
Is there anything that you still miss?
It's funny, this weekend I had a little bit of a moment where I missed it, and it's obviously food related. I'm sorry this whole conversation's about food, but Cuban pastries. I have not
Hmm.
had a Cuban pastry since moving here. I found a Cuban restaurant. I said, you know what, let's give it a shot. And I was thoroughly disappointed by the pastries, unfortunately. The sandwich was good, but the pastries, unfortunately, I probably need to go back home and stock up on those.
What is your quality plan for Cuban pastries?
Well, the Cuban pastry, the filling is interesting because the filling's always going to be the same because I think everybody just buys in bulk, like the guava paste, right? Like that's never going to change. It's always going to be delicious, sweet, excellent. The flakiness of the pastry itself, there's an art there, and it's like the layers of flake, and
Hmm.
then the top has to be covered in a very subtle glaze. A little bit of sweetness there, and then the flakiness of the bread of the pastry, and then the sweet filling in the middle. Um, it's an art form that Miami has mastered, and I don't think pastries outside of Miami, will ever compare, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm gonna have to travel down there, or I joke that I might open a Cuban bakery here someday. I might just have to fill the need.
Yeah. When do you plan to do it?
I got to start a GoFundMe. I got to get a little bit of investment there to start it up, and I also probably need to learn how to bake. I think that might be or find. Yeah, I'll get somebody's Cuban grandma to move up here and survive the Chicago winters, and we'll be set.
Or maybe ask ChatGPT, like how
Oh
to.
yeah,
Yeah. So
maybe that's something we could add to the phone, like a bake feature, and it just bakes stuff for you, and then we'll be good.
business feature and it just creates a business and yeah, maybe one day, like people are talking more about work-life balance and like working less and stuff. So you never know what the future holds. And still, have you ever like thinking for real to open your restaurant or your cafe or something like that?
It definitely has crossed my mind. Yeah. I'm not, I'm very well versed in how hard it is to run a restaurant, any business, but a restaurant specifically, right? Like the failure rate is extremely high, the overhead is extremely high. Your heart has to be really in it to do it. And talk about work-life balance. Like there is no work-life balance in restaurant. So yeah, I'm not ignorant to those facts. So that's probably what's kept me from trying anything. But yeah, I think if I ever did, it would be like a little Cuban bakery coffee shop. You can come, you can co-work there, you can have a sweet treat, you can have some strong coffee. You can get real creative with our fuel, and then yeah, that would be the dream. But
Oh, okay. It sounds like we already have a half of a business plan. So
yeah.
yeah, that's how it works. Okay. So talking about winters, how did it feel to finally have seasons, like real seasons?
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, I'm so excited for fall right now, or our autumn as others call it. But yeah, I'm very excited for seasons. Survived the winter here. It was a very mild winter from what I've been told, but when I got here, I knew how many times I had seen snow in my life. I had only seen snow 3 times in my life before moving here. I've since stopped counting. But yeah, it was a mild winter ultimately, and it's just beautiful. It's amazing that we can have spring and then all the flowers are blooming and everything's gorgeous, and then it starts to get a little bit hot, and summer was really hot here actually, and now cooling off into fall. I'm really excited to get into that. And winter is winter, you got to deal with it. And I work from home, so I don't have to go shovel snow and shovel my car out. So I think I'm really lucky in that aspect.
And how did you feel about the cold itself? Like when growing up in a warm place where basically like there is close to zero cold, I would say, and then like going into environment where it's like real wind. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, I had to invest a lot in jackets and outerwear and innerwear as well. But yeah, it was, on the days that it was really, really cold, you just don't go outside. It's dark and you don't see the sun for a few days. Like it is gloomy, and that is probably what hit me the most. But yeah, if you go outside and you have your jacket and you have your hands covered and you have the right boots, like you're good. You can walk to the coffee shop and it's no problem. Um, Again, it was a mild winter, so let's see if this winter's any different. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed it, and I think you can if you have the right gear, you can definitely survive on it. I keep telling all my friends, but like I tell my mom to come visit, and she's like, "Oh, I really want to see snow." I'm like, "Mom, if you come in the winter, we got to get you jackets and boots." She's like, "No, no, I have a leather jacket. I'll be fine." I'm like, "No, no, you understand. Like that's not going to cut it." So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get my mom up here. She's never seen snow in her life, so she really wants to see snow.
Can imagine like in a leather jacket. But also, like if she's a Wim Hof fan, the Iceman who basically goes in the underwear to the mountains. So, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
it can
yeah,
work.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
I think
never
that's a
know.
playlist. Yeah, she watches that often. Yeah, yeah.
So coming back to your coffee list. So what are the top three positions on your list of best coffees you've had in Chicago?
Oh. Um, I've had a lot of coffee shops here. So I'm gonna go first and foremost. I know the number one for sure. It's Metric. This place is incredible. They roast their own beans. It's just so good. It's unlike any coffee I've ever had. And when we first moved here, we went and we thought we had like discovered this little gem, and then all of a sudden they ended up getting on all these magazines, and now there's always a line out the door. So I'm like, oh, why'd they get so popular? But also I'm like, oh, great, they're gonna stay in business. So I'm happy that they're doing really well. Um, but yeah, Metric would probably be my number one. Um, and then Umbria, which is a little bit more in downtown, thick of it in the loop. Really good as well. They do a honey latte that is just out of this world. And then number three, I had Vietnamese coffee. Yeah, I have this really
Hmm.
great Vietnamese coffee place here, which I usually do two coffees a day. Like I do one in the morning and then maybe like early afternoon. That's one that like you can't do second coffee with that one because your head will explode. Like you need to, it's so much caffeine. It's crazy. That's a one and done. For the days that you really need the caffeine, you just do one of those. But it's got condensed milk in it. It's really sweet. It's really delicious, and it has a lot of caffeine. But yeah, Viet 5 is my spot for Vietnamese coffee.
What kind of coffee do you usually order?
Um, so the interesting thing is I never do hot coffees. I always do iced.
Hmm.
Uh, Maybe this was growing up in South Florida thing because it was always so hot. I don't have the patience to wait for something to cool down, so I'll just burn my tongue if I do hot coffee. In the dead of winter, I will do hot coffee because I have to.
I just wanted to ask, how does it feel to have an iced coffee in the winter?
I mean, I've done it for sure. I've done it, but I quickly learned that like that's probably not the best decision. And if you have hot coffee, it's going to get cold five
Pretty
seconds out.
fast, yeah.
Yeah, so it works out for me. But yeah, I do oat milk lattes. I add a little bit of vanilla. I'm basic. I'm a basic coffee drinker sometimes, but yeah, just I'll do a shot of espresso also. Just if I just need to pick me up, and I just a really good shot of espresso always does the trick. But I'd much rather do like a latte with oat milk, iced, preferably.
Have you ever tried to switch from coffee to something?
Um, no, I don't think I would function good. I've done no coffee for a little bit, and I've definitely felt the effects of that. But yeah, no, I like my ritual of my coffee every morning. I get up, first thing I do, create the coffee, sit down on the couch, have my coffee, and that's how I start my day pretty much every single day.
So what were the effects of having no coffee?
Uh, Withdrawal, it is the most consumed drug in the world. And you definitely experience withdrawal. Headaches, like fuzziness and just, yeah, not focused. Mainly the headaches more than anything, but yeah, I've drastically decreased my intake of coffee. As I get older, I realize I should probably not drink that much coffee, but yeah, I still do my at least one coffee a day.
It sounds like it's better not to, for you, it's better always to have coffee.
It's probably the way I function the best, yeah.
So tell me, where did you learn how to throw parties?
Um, yeah, I started my career in nightlife. And in nightlife, there were so many different nightclubs in Miami, and you really had to distinguish yourself. And I always knew that creating a special experience meant people would go to that place, even if they just go once, right? Just for that one special night. So we would do a lot of themed parties just to mix it up and give people a reason to go. And then we'd see what works, what didn't work. Some of them would become a yearly thing. Some of them we'd do maybe once a month, and we kind of mix it up. But yeah, I think that experimenting with themes and different concepts and seeing what resonated, like that was kind of the base I did for like event planning and engagement overall, and just giving people a really unique experience.
When you were throwing parties as part of your work, so did you enjoy them or it was still more of a work thing?
Oh no, it was always work. Yeah, it was yeah, just thinking, moving all the pieces where things needed to go. Like, hey, that table over there needs service, or hey, this line is moving too slow. Let's speed it up. Like, checking the register, make sure that we don't get robbed outside because we're just outside. So yeah, it was always just kind of running around, and even when I would go to other nightclubs or anything on my day off, like it was always like, oh, they should have put the curtains this way, or the lighting system should be this way. Like I was always just kind of analyzing it from that perspective. Um, so yeah, I never really, I mean, I definitely got to enjoy and have these great experiences and memories with the people I worked with, but yeah, I was never partaking in the party itself, unfortunately.
And what was the party that you really enjoyed, like without thinking about the work?
I much rather prefer like a bar, like nightclubs. I didn't, I'd rather just go to a bar or sit down. We used to do our meetings every Tuesday, and then go to a bar afterwards and have chicken wings as like our celebratory and beer and chicken wings or whatever. And like those are like my fondest memories of that time, just like chilling in a sports bar. The music wasn't too loud. Got to enjoy some drinks and some food, and that was it. But you could actually talk to people. That was always
Yeah.
really nice. Yeah. Yeah.
When you were talking about the bar, I was thinking like, yes, exactly. That's where you can talk to people because in nightclub, yeah, it's kind of hard. You have to like scream to people, not talk to them, and it's like kind of weird experience. And so, what one of the best conversations that you've ever had in the bar?
Um, I think it was a lot of, where a lot of the ideas would come for the events that we would throw. Like when we were at those bars and we would have those conversations back then, it was a lot of brainstorming, and thinking about the future of it. And I think it was always just such a creative atmosphere because we had really creative people on the team that could think of these really great ideas. Those are definitely my favorite conversations of, what should we do, or this holiday's coming up, or this and that, and we'd have those great conversations. But yeah, I don't know if I've had great conversations at bars with, just talking to friends and catching up. Again, music is low, you can have that conversation, you can talk. So I think it's a great place to catch up with friends and maybe even dates. I know my girlfriend and I, the first day we met, we stumbled over into a bar, and that's very memorable for me, right? Like just talking to her, getting to know her, and chatting her up. My friends were there as well, and we were all just talking, and that's really memorable for me for sure.
How many times did you come back to this bar?
The one where we met the first night, um, it was a pretty divey. It's an iconic bar in Fort Lauderdale. I want to say we only went back once or twice, but we visited like six places that night because we were just kind of going around downtown. So there's another place that we went back multiple times. It was actually, I think, the first place we went to, like once COVID restrictions lifted and everybody was, in the real world
Free.
again. Yeah, I think that's the first place we actually went to, if memory serves correct. Yeah.
What is the best coffee to cure the hangover?
The best coffee to cure the hangover. Yeah, I would say, not too much milk. I don't want, if I'm hungover, I don't want too much in my stomach. So I'll do like an ice cortado instead with half the milk of a latte and strong espresso and maybe a little dash of vanilla in there for the sweetness, and take that down, and you're good to start the day.
And how do you feel about hangovers?
I think they get worse as you get older, as I've realized. Um, Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like hangovers. I don't think anybody does, right? I pace myself. I drink a lot of water. I try to avoid the hangover as much as possible, and maybe reserve it just for like New Year's Day. And that's it.
Talking about friends, what is one thing that recently reminded you about Will Borland that made you chuckle?
Oh, everything, right? I actually have a painting that his son, well, paint an illustration that his son made for me. That's right here off camera. But his family actually came to visit recently, and I got to see his wife and his kids, and they came to Chicago and stayed with me, and I just had so many great conversations with his wife, Jenny, who I love dearly, and his kids. And I hadn't seen them since they were babies. So seeing them as, grown, like grown kids that are talking and sharing ideas and asking questions, it was just really fascinating. And seeing a lot of him in them was really special.
And how did you meet for the first time with Will?
Will and I met while I worked at Yelp. We met at Community Manager Week. So once a year, we'd get all the community managers from all over the US and all over the world at one point. Everybody would come to San Francisco and get together once a week, once a year for a full week. And it was one of those community manager weeks that I met Will. We were on the same team in the Southeast. Um, and we finally got to meet in person. We only knew each other. I don't even know if like Zoom was a thing then. So we probably, I think we did video calls, but we probably did like phone calls back then. Maybe video calls, but yeah, got to meet him in person at CM Week, which was really awesome, and immediately became buds. Like just yeah, instantly hit it off, which was really nice.
How did you understand that you became friends?
Um, I think just you almost instantly have that chemistry with somebody, and you play off each other. Him and I are both very quick and very sarcastic and very energetic and just say kind of what comes to mind and very quick-witted and I think we both bonded over that. Talk about polar opposites, right? Like a country boy from Alabama and a Cuban kid from Miami, like just couldn't be further from what you would think would be best buds and yeah, we just kind of really hit it off instantly. And then yeah, I think that friendship just develops. Being long distance and not being in the same city, like to build a friendship that strong, I think is a testament to like a true friendship, right? You don't see each other every day, you don't go out, you don't, hang out that much, but we built this really strong friendship, even though it was mostly online and phone calls and texts.
Still, how did you do this? Because uh, I hear a lot of like, uh, not just friendships, but in general, long distance relationship that usually doesn't work very well. So how did you do that?
Yeah, it's the group chat was always on fire, always going off with memes and constantly chatting there. That was always great with our other group of really great friends and I did get to see Will multiple times a year also. We'd see each other at CM Week, we'd have a regional conference, so I'd get to see him there in person as well and all those, fondest memories that I have of that time in my life and of ever really is being able to hang out in person. So those kind of solidified the friendship, but yeah, it's just, always being in touch, always checking in on each other. A lot of phone calls. He was the caller. He loved to talk on the phone. So we'd have a lot of conversations on the phone.
So what does it mean for you to call someone a friend?
A friend is, somebody that's there for you and, has your best interest at heart, has your back, right? Looks out for you, thinks about you, and that's reciprocated. The friendship has to be two ways, right? There's no one-way friendships. Um, Somebody you care about. I look at friends a lot. I have a very small family. It's just my parents and my brother. I have extended family and cousins and stuff who we weren't like super close, and it was just really the four of us. So to me, friends also become family. I let people into my inner circle, and they become almost like family to me. So it's a little hard for me to distinguish like a friend and a family member in a lot of cases, especially my dearest friends. So yeah, I think there's that level of family and looking out for each other and just caring about each other.
Is it hard for you to be a friend?
It's not. No, it's hard. It's hard for me to not be a friend. It's almost too much sometimes. I care about people and I want to check in on people and I want to see people, but it's hard. It's hard to always be there for everybody, but I try the best I can. But yeah, for the people that that I just have that with, like it comes very easy for me to keep those friendships going.
How do you feel when you care about someone, but they do not really care back a lot?
Yeah, that's difficult in every aspect of life, whether it's romantic or friendship or, family in some cases too, right? Like that's really tough. I think I've realized that like not everybody is going to be that for you, and there are different levels of friendship, and that's okay. Like not everybody has to be a top tier. There's only best friends because, when you say best friend, like that holds weight, right? And that should be true. So there could be acquaintances and there could be, casual friendships, and there's friendships that fade over time also, right? Like people change, things change. So that's been a lot of lessons for me, is just letting go of friendships, or realizing like, hey, this isn't a friendship anymore, and that's fine, and being okay with that, and you know it is what it is.
I feel like first of all, in the community space in general, there are so many great people, and almost every person you meet, you kind of become almost a friend instantly, and it's so easy. And I don't know, it was when I joined the international community world, I feel like it was the best place to really meet amazing people. And sometimes I personally feel that we have conversation with someone, and then we stop having conversation. I'm thinking like, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I a bad person and all this stuff? I'm kind of starting blaming myself for not having this conversation. And then like, oh, maybe we're just going different roads. I don't know. So I'm curious, do you blame yourself for not kind of being a good friend?
No, I don't think, sometimes there's nobody to blame. I think just life, right? Like things change, and, people have children or get married, priorities change, people move away, like get new jobs. Like I think life is just constantly evolving for everybody, and there's no blame to really put sometimes. It's just, hey, life got in the way. And, oftentimes too, you're just completely different people than when you met, right? Like you just become this different version of yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I think it's there's no blame to put on anybody. I don't think. I think just life sometimes is.
Happens. Life happens.
Yeah.
Describe one of the unexpected moments in your life.
Hmm. The unexpected moments in my life. I mean, I would say a pivotal one was the night I met my girlfriend. We randomly ran into each other at a Christmas boat parade, of all places. There was a couple thousand people there. Everybody was exiting the park, and we kind of just bumped into each other. And I overheard her say, "How do we get out of here?" And I was like, "Hey, I know the way out of here."
Follow me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think my exact words were "Follow me to freedom." And, yeah, she rolled her eyes and said, just kind of chuckled, and she went that way, and me and my friends went this way, but she didn't realize that it just rounded about, and we met back in the front. And I was like, "My friend, you're back." And she's like, "How do we get out of here?" And I was like, "I told you, I know the way. Follow me." And then we proceeded to have about a mile walk out of the park, and that's where we chatted for the first time. And it's like, "Well, we're gonna go out. Do you want to go to these bars?" And her and her friend were like, "Oh, her friend was like, 'Oh, I'm going to meet a guy, but she'll go with you guys.'" She kind of just threw her into the wind, and it was a group of us, so she felt comfortable, and she came out with us, and we kind of bar hopped all around downtown Fort Lauderdale. But yeah, just what a serendipitous moment that, is just so pivotal to I look back and like that is like a canon event, right? It's like that moment really changed my life. That was right before COVID. We started dating during COVID basically, and just how drastically different my life would have been during COVID without her. I don't even want to imagine. And we moved to Chicago together, and we started life here, and like it's just, yeah, it's one of those moments that just I always look back at, and I'm like, yeah, that was defining moment for me.
How do you feel about expectations?
Expectations just in life in general, at work, or very open.
Overall,
Yeah.
yeah, in general.
Um, I think it's a dual-edged sword. I think, setting expectations for yourself is sometimes a little ambitious, and you let yourself down, but setting expectations for other people is equally dangerous. You know, you're expecting things from them that they might not be expecting for themselves, right? So I don't know. I think it's a slippery slope with expectations. I think accountability is more something that I focus on, and being accountable for what you're responsible for, and when you don't deliver those things, being accountable for them. I think that's what I value a lot more. I think expectations and setting expectations like oftentimes will lead to disappointment. But yeah,
Do you set expectations for yourself?
I said ambitious goals, and ambitious goals that have a chance of success too. I think going too ambitious sometimes is a lot of people's downfall too. But yeah, with expectations and what I expect, I try to like look at it in short term. Long term is just so difficult to really gauge, especially the way the world moves now, right? We didn't expect
Yeah.
the pandemic to completely shut everything down. So I really try to look at life in blocks now of, maybe 3 months, maybe the year, but even that, I don't think anytime I've planned for the year in the last few years, like, has it actually fully come to fruition. So I really try to like, well, maybe, yeah, maybe we're setting expectations on a shorter time frame now. Maybe that's the key.
And talking about ambitious goals, I have this previous guest question. So, what is it you aspire to create that others don't know yet you aspire to create?
Um, well, at Pexels, we're building this global network of this global community of photographers, right? Which is a very difficult thing to do on a global scale, country to country, sometimes even city to city, right? Like getting really hyper local into these cities. And you know, my goal is that every photographer in the world will be a part of this community at some point. I know that's extremely ambitious, but that would be my end goal, is to have this thriving community that no matter where you're at, you have people in your area that you can connect with, collaborate with, create with. Um, and in the places that we've already built this, it's extremely special to see the impact that it's having on the members. Um, but yeah, that global expansion is really what I look forward to, super long term.
And what is your ambitious goal in a personal life?
In personal life, I want to create more. I want to create experiences. I want to create memories. I want to create more. I don't know what exactly I want to create. I just know I want to create. Could be art, could be, could be a podcast. I don't know, I don't know. It could be a business. Maybe we got to create the Cuban bakery, right?
Exactly.
I, I want to bring things to life, whether that is an experience or a memory or a business or something. Um, I just want to keep creating. I never want to like stop creating new things. Um, and just kind of rest on my laurels and just be like, okay, I've done enough. I'm good. I just want to
I'm
keep.
good. I'm good. Yeah, no, no more. Yeah, I feel like it's something like connected to learning. The moment you stop learning, you kind of stop
Yeah,
developing. So I feel like that the moment you stop creating, you kind of stop living. So
yeah, yeah.
Blue, I wish to have the sky's the limit to our conversation, but time is the limit. So let's jump to the rapid fire questions. So cold or warm days?
Oh, cold.
Mexican or Asian cuisine?
My girlfriend is Mexican. I'm saying Mexican.
You have no choice. Okay. So, what are your favorite color and song?
My favorite color is definitely blue. My favorite song is "I'm Blue" by Eiffel 65. No, my favorite, yeah, right. Uh, my favorite song is probably, oh, that's so hard. I can think of 1,000 different songs.
Let's make
Uh,
it easier. A favorite song of the moment.
of the moment. Oh man, that's even harder. I
Yeah,
look at my
exactly.
playlist. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna say Pitbull's entire first album. Let's
If
do
you
that.
were if you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
If I was a superhero, I would like the ability to teleport so I can be wherever I want to be. I don't know how that would be beneficial to fighting crime, but maybe, yeah, I can stop people, I
Uh,
guess.
who knows? Who do you learn from? Name just one person.
Um, my team. I know it's more than one person, but yeah, I learn a lot from them. I learn a lot about being a leader, a coach, and things that they're doing, creative things that they're doing. I learn from them all the time.
Name two people whom I should definitely reach out to and have this conversation with.
I would say two of my favorite humans that I've ever met. Met both of them at Yelp. Cassie, she currently works at LinkedIn. I think you might be connected. And then Jonathan, who is the head of community at Code Academy. Um, he's incredible too. Yeah, they're both just phenomenal humans and amazing community builders.
Ask it forward. It's like pay it forward, but with questions. So ask a question that a future guest will have to answer.
Um, what is something that you're an expert in that the average person isn't?
Is there one question that I definitely should have asked you but didn't?
Hmm. Should have asked me if my real name is Blue.
Hmm, is it?
Too late to ask. The world will never know.
Okay, let's keep this a little bit of a secret. And I highly encourage everyone who listened up to this point, go and ask this question. And after we finish this conversation, after we finish the recording, I will ask you.
There you go.
Yeah. So we won't tell it to anyone. It'll be
Cool.
just our little secret. And yeah, Lou, thank you very much for this conversation, for this open conversation. As I told you before the recording, when I was preparing to this conversation, I felt like you're a really nice, kind, and fun and interesting person to talk to. And it is, you are. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for allowing me to have a sneak peek into your love journey. And I feel like I'll definitely ask you many more questions in the future. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
And yeah, see you in the community world.